So we each took 3 takes from this past weekend. We know with NFL especially, every take is usually an overreaction to what just happened, and it's none truer than after week 1 of the NFL season. So I'll get things started. We'll just go back and forth here, and we'll decide whether our takes are an overreaction or if we pretty much agree with them and say that they're an underreaction. So my first one, obviously, with this Dolphins Colts game, I'm sure you saw it and were pretty pleased with what you saw with Daniel Jones scoring on every drive that the Colts had in that game. But with Miami, this is just, I mean, this just reinvigorates my take that they're done. This is over with. They need to clean house. I don't think McDaniel sees, Miami turf in the month of October. I think he's going to be out of there before the end of this month, and nothing looked good. It was an embarrassing performance for them and for a team that actually has some decent talent with the receiver core of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You're always concerned about Tua with the concussions, and then Mike McDaniel just never has control of this locker room. And recent reports are that Tyreek Hill's ex is making claims about domestic violence, whatnot, and it seems to be just snowballing for them here.
Yeah, I watched that entire game, and A-Chain was okay. I guess I'll give him that. He was fine. He had a late garbage time touchdown, but he got a few. His running wasn't terrible, but that was basically the only bright spot of the entire day for the Dolphins, even if you can even call it that. Yeah, I mean, Tua was an absolute mess. The Colts defense just looked like it just rattled and confused him the entire game. He threw 2 picks and fumbled it once. Yeah, our receivers had trouble getting open. With Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it's kind of sad. And with the Mike McDaniel as your coach scheming, that's not a good sign either. And the defense and just even special teams made errors that a lot of it to do with coaching and all that. You can just tell. Yeah, I think this whole thing is going to end up being a train wreck. We'll get to our prediction on their week 2 game here later, but yeah, I don't think the future is very bright for Miami this season. And I agree mostly with your take. I think it could be a total blow up, but that's what we call it, an overreaction because there's still games to be played. Okay, you have anything else to say on that? Or yep, okay, we are going to start with my first take, and that. This is my main takeaway from the Friday night game in Brazil. That for me, the main takeaway was that it wasn't really about how good Justin Herbert was. It was mostly about how bad the Chiefs' defense was in that game. I mean, how I would describe Herbert's performance was flawless. He never made a mistake, which is great from a quarterback. But I'm not gonna. I mean, his stats look good too, but everyone's claiming he looked super elite, and I guess you can maybe call it elite if you don't make mistakes a lot. But what I saw was that he was just playing pitch and catch with his wide receivers the entire game. Like, I don't know what the Chiefs' defense was doing because he was throwing to McConkey and Allen, and there was like no guy within 3 or 4 yards of him every time. So I don't know. I mean, I trust the Chiefs to figure it out, but that to me that raised some major red flags, and to me that was the bigger storyline than Herbert's stat line. But maybe it was just the Chargers scheme. Maybe credit to the Chargers offensive coordinator and Harbaugh for putting in that game plan. But to me, I mean, that was just atrocious defense. And to cap it all off, that 3rd and 14 or it was a 3rd and 18 run by Herbert where there was no one near. That was just the perfect exclamation point for a terrible day for the Chiefs defense.
Yeah, it never seemed like the Chargers were had their back against the wall. Like it just felt like a very freeing game for them offensively. I don't really think it's that much of an overreaction to say that the Chiefs defense was more of the storyline here. Obviously, if you're watching the Sports Center or anything like that, you're hearing about Herbert and the great game that he had. But I would tend to agree with you the fact that this Chiefs defense isn't what we're used to seeing from KC, and it didn't ever seem like Jim Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, ever made really adjustments to the defense to counteract anything that Herbert and that offense was doing. So yeah, I would tend to agree and say that that's not as much of an overreaction that maybe some would think it would be. For my second one, this one is near and dear for my Cincinnati Bengals. Watching their game, what we thought would happen with Burrow in this offense ended up happening. Coming out sluggish week one, we kind of happened the past few seasons with him and this offense where they just come out sluggish and they end up dropping a game to a lesser opponent. They got lucky, and a lot of that had to do with their defense bailing them out. They got 2 interceptions late, both by Jordan Battle. And I tend to think that maybe the Al Golden hire at defensive coordinator might have just improved this defense. And I mean, they could actually be good defensively in those games that they lost, all those close games that they would lose last season. Maybe that's going to flip for them this year.
Yeah, I semi agree with you here. Because I thought I was kind of expecting a little higher scoring game because I just did not trust the Bengals defense at all after last year and the preseason and all the Hendrickson drama before the season started. I thought Flacco had a really good day. I just think a lot of it had to do with the Browns just being the Browns. Like, you look at Joe's stat line, he had 2 interceptions, but if you watch the replays of both the interceptions, it was just his receivers just dropped the ball.
Yeah, they basically handed it to him.
They handed it to him, yeah. But still, I mean, they held him to 16 points, so that was impressive because I predicted that, yeah, Flacco would have his way, a veteran quarterback like that would have his way against a weak defense. But, one game, we'll see what happens when they play a more competent team. But that's why it's overreaction Tuesday, I guess. That's the day of the week that we are recording this. Okay, yeah, my second take, we're staying in the division, and that is after what I watched week one, if Aaron Rodgers remains healthy, the Steelers will contend. I'm not going to say they're going to win, but they will contend until the very end for the AFC North crown. So when it comes to the Steelers as of late, the joke has been that they just barely get over that 500 mark so Mike Tomlin can keep his streak alive. But everyone knows they're just an average football team who gets bounced in the first round. But if you look at these teams, their quarterbacks have been Pickett, Rudolph, old washed up Russell Wilson, and they've been relying on their defense. It's basically just been ugly football, relying on their defense to get to that 9-8 mark. Well, if you watch that Jets-Steelers game, the defense was really nowhere to be found, and that game was won by Aaron Rodgers in the offense. He threw 4 touchdown passes. He looked similar to Green Bay, late-stage Green Bay Aaron Rodgers. And I just trust Pittsburgh's never had a bad defense, so I trust their defense will figure it out over the course of the season. And as long as Rodgers stays healthy, I think he seems happier in Pittsburgh than he ever did in New York. I know that's after just 1 week, but I could see this going all the way to all the way to the very end, this AFC North crown. And I predicted they make the wild card as a 7th seed at the beginning of the year because they always do, and they always, for some reason, do. But I am now more confident in that pick.
I am not buying it. I cannot get on board with this Pittsburgh hype train you're on. But no, I know they'll probably end up going 9-8 at the end of the year, making the playoffs somehow. But the Steelers' defense was one of the most shocking things I saw this weekend. That they allowed that many points, which is their bread and butter, is to be a staunch defense that holds teams to low scores, and they let Justin Fields and the Jets run up and down the field on them. Now, Justin Fields had a great game, the best one I think I've ever seen him play at the NFL level. It was so much fun to watch, but I don't know. It's just not what I'm used to seeing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't know. I'm waiting for that first hit from Myles Garrett on Aaron Rodgers to, put this season to bed for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I will say that is one thing because I think Rodgers did take a few sacks in that game, so that is concerning, and that's why I put the healthy part because, yes,
right.
If he goes down, I don't this whole ship will sink, and then they'll
Yeah.
be a uninspiring 9-8 to finish.
All right. I'm gonna finish it up with the Detroit Lions. This game between them and the Green Bay Packers was the big CBS game, late one. And after watching what they did at Lambeau, I'm saying that this is not the Super Bowl contending team that was there the last couple of years. They may still get into the playoffs. It's very likely that they do and they figure this thing out, but they are missing their coordinators dearly. I was worried about it coming into the season. That's why I dropped them down to finishing second in the division. But seeing what they were able to do on both sides of the ball, it was just not a clean game on either side. Jordan Love had a great game. The Packers pretty much dominated most of that game, but from just what I'm seeing offensively, they were held to 44 yards rushing between both Montgomery and Gibbs on just 20 carries. So them not being able to run the ball and seeing that O line with some of the guys that are, Ragnow's retired and some other guys not on that O line that they used to have, I'm kind of worried about them.
Yeah, I'm not ready to fully go there yet because that was a tough week one game at Green Bay right after Micah Parsons signed. The juice is flowing. And basically, that was the main game of the evening. So most of the attention was on that game. And yeah, Green Bay just went out there and played for the city of Green Bay there and just played inspired football, and Detroit looked lost. But yeah, I'm not going there yet because I still think the Lions culture is strong. I believe that was all started by Dan Campbell, and there's still plenty of talent on this roster. And I just think they ran into the wrong team at the wrong time in week one. I still think they'll bounce back. Super Bowl contender, not as good as last year. Last year they were pretty close to the top of the rankings in Super Bowl contending, but I would still say that they're a fringe contender is where I'll put them. Okay, then my last take is I'm staying in that division again with the NFC North, and that is that after my watching one game of year two Caleb Williams, I have declared that his ceiling is Kyler Murray. And what do I mean by that? There will be fun plays. There will be glimpses of, wow, why can't he do this all the time? But in the end, the best he'll ever do is maybe earn a wild card spot and get bounced in the first round. There were just, in that game yesterday was just kind of like the full Kyler Murray experience, I thought, where he looked really good, really strong at times where, like, how did he make that throw? Like, only three other guys in the league can make that throw. And then just missing wide open guys, making bad reads. The O-line false starting all the time. I know that is partly on the quarterback. I know the O-line does deserve some blame, but that happened multiple times yesterday. So I thought there'd be more of a jump. He looked really good in that first drive. So if I would have turned the TV off the first drive and the game was over after the first drive, I wouldn't have had this take. But watching the rest of that game, he lowered. I don't think he's going to reach those super high expectations that he had whenever he was first picked.
Yeah, I'm not ready to put the Kyler Murray ceiling on that yet. That would be quite the ceiling to have to be put onto Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
but
that's not bust. That's not bust material, but it's disappointment material. Is what
right,
it is.
Especially for the number one overall, going to the Bears that are desperate for anything at the QB position. But I'm kind of treating this season for Caleb like his rookie year because of last year with Eberflus and then Mike Brown. He never actually got a coach that knew what he was doing, and now he's got Ben Johnson, who is a great offensive mind, but it's going to be some growing pains and some getting used to his offensive scheme. And I think just give it some time. I think he'll come around. And look, the talent's there. It's always been there, and I think Ben Johnson needs to just tap into that for him. And it was a tough defense to go up against. One of the best defenses under Brian Flores that the Vikings threw at him last night, and it was clear that he was running for his life on a few plays, and at least he was able to get it out of the pocket and make some plays from outside the pocket. Yeah, tough defense to go up against. Pump the brakes on that for now. We'll see what happens. It's still a long season for Caleb.